Hello, lovelies. So we are talking about toilet training, and we're going to be talking about marking in the house. I get quite a lot of questions in about this because Chihuahuas can be, well, they have a reputation for being quite difficult to toilet train, and I kind of think that reputation is quite well earned. They can be a little bit stubborn when it comes down to being reliable in that way. So this lesson is kind of all about toilet training and marking and helping people to understand the best way to toilet train your Chihuahua. Now, first of all, we kind of need to understand the difference between toileting and marking because they are very different things and they kind of need to be treated slightly differently. Now, obviously, peeing in the house is a full-on empty of the bladder, whereas marking is kind of like quick squirt up something, which seems to tend to be a bit stickier, I think. So, and surprisingly difficult to clean off. That tends to be the boys. Okay, 10 boys tend to mark vertically and they tend to do it in the house. Whereas when you're out walking, the girlies will do it too, and they kind of drop into their little curtsy as they go along, leaving little scents as they go. So girls do mark as well, but it does seem to be the boys that mark in the house. So when the difference between them basically is a full-on toilet in the house is an empty bladder and creates quite a puddle, and a mark in the house is generally a little squirt up something. So that's the two things. Initially, we're going to be talking about training. We're going to be talking about toilet training, and then we'll talk about marking and how to deal with it. So the first thing, bit of housekeeping. I have created an ebook for you. So attached to this video, there is a downloadable little ebook which will help you put this into practice and create your own schedule for your dog. Modern training has kind of moved away from that really aggressive, rub your nose in it style type of thing that people used to do in the past. And I'm never quite sure what they were hoping to achieve with that. But everything that we do, obviously in Chihuahua School, is all about positive reward based training. So there's going to be absolutely zero stress in it for the dog. Can't guarantee that for you because it is a kind of little bit annoying, but it's just something that you're just going to have to work through with your dog. Now, it's worth noting that a puppy that's under 12 weeks and possibly even slightly past 12 weeks may not have full control over their bladder anyway. So if you are stressing yourself out trying to toilet train a dog that doesn't have control over their bladder, you're going to be setting yourself up, well, your dog up for not being successful, which we really don't want. So it's really important to make sure before you start trying to train your dog that they do have some sort of control, not going to be full, but they do have some sort of control over their bladder. Now, your Chihuahua needs to wee about 3 to 4 times a day. Clearly, they need to go to the toilet before they go to bed, and they will definitely need to wee first thing in the morning. It's important that you get up in time for them to wee in the morning so that they don't end up peeing in their crate or peeing in the house somewhere and rehearsing that behavior. So you do have to be a little bit realistic about what time you're going to get up so you can let your Chihuahua out to pee in the morning. Now, the general rule of thumb is they can hold their bladder for about an hour for every month old they are, up to the maximum of 8 hours. But for a small dog like a Chihuahua, 8 hours, unless it's overnight, is really pushing it a little bit. And you don't want them to end up with like a bladder infection or something like that. So it's important that your Chihuahua does get the opportunity to go out and potty when they need to. Now, with any kind of toilet training, it doesn't matter whether you're doing it for a human or a dog, consistency is key. So if you're going to kind of need to put some time aside for it, okay? So maybe you're going to try and time it so that when you first get your dog, you've got some time off work or you've got some time at home, or maybe you can arrange to work at home, because you are going to need to be present. Okay, you cannot expect your dog to learn the skills and get the skills toilet training if you're not there. And somebody just coming in to let them out for a wee just isn't going to cut it. Okay, that is not giving your dog or teaching your dog how to do it, and it certainly isn't setting your dog up for success. Now, all dogs, and including Chihuahuas, ha- kind of give you some signs that they need to do a wee. Okay, mine. Minnie is able to go and bark at the door and let me know she wants to go out. Arlo scratches at the door, but the others aren't quite as obvious as that. Okay, and you need to watch the signs. So generally, they could be sniffing the floor, going round and round in a circle, which is kind of a behavior you're going to be familiar with when you go out and they're on the grass, because they kind of do that on the grass as well. So going round and round in circles, sniffing. Mika stares at you like when he wants you to do something. That's kind of like mind control. And there are just a range of different behaviors, and you kind of need to get used to your dog's body language so you can read the signs when they're going to want to go for a wee, and when they definitely are going to need to wee. And you can use this to help you with your training, is they will need a wee when they've woken up. So if they've gone down for a nap in their crate, which is where Prince and Macy are as I'm recording this, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to let them out for a wee. If they're very excited and they've run around having lots of fun, then that's probably going to make them want to wee. And obviously after they've eaten or had a really big drink, that's quite likely, in the same way it does with humans, stimulate the need to wee. So you can use that to your advantage. You can use the times when you know your dog is naturally going to want to wee to start to put your training in progress and to set yourselves and your dogs up for success. I just wanted to mention stress weeing here as well, okay, because that is something, it's not just Chihuahuas, quite a lot of dogs do this. Stress weeing is an involuntary release of urine from the bladder, okay? The dog has no control over it. And it's kind of happens when your dog is kind of really, really excited, really pleased to see you. For instance, when my friend Barbara came in, Macy's just completely obsessed with Barbara because she delivered her, and she's just never forgotten her. Even though she couldn't see her, she just knows who Barbara is. So the minute she sees Barbara, she just goes absolutely crazy. And one of the things that she pretty often, she'll just wee. Okay, she'll just do a stress wee. Another reason dogs do stress wees is because they're worried or anxious about something. And quite often that can happen if they read stressful body language from you and you move towards them, they might kind of think, oh my God, something bad's going to happen. And they stress wee. So it's really important that you don't ever tell your dog off for a stress wee, because they have absolutely no control over it. Okay, what you need to be looking at is the environment that they're in, and controlling that rather than trying to control the dog. So it's not just enough to open the door and just let your dog run out and expect them to wee. They might well do a wee just because they're excited and running around, but that's not training them. Okay, you're going to have to go out there with them, and you're going to have to put a little bit of effort into it, so that one, you can mark it and you can reward. Okay, now how you reward your dog when you catch them doing the right thing is really important. What we don't want is, and quite often this is what people are told to do, is like, oh, you have a really big party when your dog gets it right. Okay, so they're kind of, yay, good dog, and you're dancing around having a party. The reason we don't recommend that is because your dog obviously doesn't speak English or doesn't speak human, and all of that is just noise, and it's energy and it's excitement. And a couple of things can happen. They might get confused because if they pee in the house and they get told off, or you just, even if you don't tell them off, if your body language is kind of up and your energy level is up while you clear it up, etc., they don't know the difference because they don't speak English. They don't know the difference. They just know that they've weed, which has created a certain amount of excitement. Okay. Now, also, that kind of crazy excitement noise could spook them or worry them, and they don't entirely understand if they've done it right. They don't get whether what they've done is the correct thing to do or not. So what I always suggest and always tell my clients to do is, obviously you need to be there when they do it. You need to have the food ready to go. And the minute your dog has eliminated, you will reward to the mouth, and then possibly just put whatever cue is you're going to use. So we use wee wee garden or good wee wee or whatever. Now, sometimes when you've got food in your hand, and Minnie would definitely be like this, is they're going to be more focused on the food than they are on doing their business and doing what they need to do. And that can be quite tedious and difficult. Lower the value of the reward to start with, and keep it out of sight for us to start with. And also, you might need to desensitize the treat bag if you've got a treat bag with you, so that they don't automatically assume when they see this bag or whatever it means they're going to get something to eat. So again, you need to look at the context of what your Chihuahua is doing. But what we're looking for here is rewarding the wee and the elimination the second it's done, and you're rewarding the dog to the mouth, and then you're just putting in a nice calm marker or cue. Okay, so we don't want any of this party business, any of this jumping around full of excitement. Because the other thing as well with that is you generally, when you're excited, your dog's going to be excited, and it's going to push up their arousal level. Now, if you're out there at 5 o'clock in the morning in a pouring rain, you do not want a dog who thinks it's playtime. Okay. You just want a dog that's going to go out there, do their business, and come back in again. So again, keeping it calm and keeping it business-like is what we're looking for. So one of the things I recommend, if you are having problems with your Chihuahua peeing in the house and just wandering around the house, peeing anywhere they like, is the first thing to do is restrict their access. Okay, restrict where they can actually get to in the house, and do that with baby gates or kind of like metal pens, or just even shutting the door. And a really good way to deal with this is to tether them to you, which is a really good idea, because you can also remember then to take them out. So if you use one of those kind of little lightweight step-in harnesses and a lightweight line, and you attach it to you, then your Chihuahua cannot just wander about and pee anywhere they like in the house. And also then when you take them out, you're attached to them, so they're not just wandering off and playing. You're there to kind of do the business. And also, if you're trying to get them to pee in a certain area of the garden or poop in a certain area of the garden, having them on a lead and a long line is really useful, because they can't just kind of wander around and do it wherever they like. So again, don't let them just wander around, because not only then is it really annoying for you because you don't know where they've done it, or you end up with a little surprise poop somewhere that you weren't expecting, but they're also rehearsing that behavior. Okay, and we don't want that. We don't want rehearsal of the behaviors or of unhelpful behaviors. So it's really important that when your Chihuahua is out there looking for somewhere to potty, that you don't nag them, okay, and you don't interfere with them and just constantly stop them focusing on what they're doing, okay, because you just want them to go out there and do their wee so you can mark it. It's really important that you catch that moment that they eliminate, so that they start to kind of pair the cue and the reward that you're giving them with their behavior. And placement of reward is really, really important. Is really, because dogs move on very, very quickly, and if they've done their wee and then they've looked around for something else, or maybe their paws are off the ground, and then you reward them, that's what you're rewarding, okay, because they just move very, very fast away from what they're actually just doing. So your placement of reward needs to be quick, and it needs to be accurate for them to make the pairing that you want them to make. Now, one of the things that can make it really difficult, and this is like a standing joke amongst Chihuahua owners, is that their dogs won't pee when it's raining. And they don't like it. I'm not going to lie, they don't like it. The way I get around that is I take them somewhere different. So for Minnie, she probably won't go out in the back garden if it's pouring with rain. But if I put a harness on and I take her out the front garden, she seems to be more happy to do that, because obviously she's got a marker territory as well. So, and she will do a proper wee when she's out there. So just switching it up slightly and taking them somewhere else if it's raining can help, or trying to maybe having a litter tray or one of these grass litter trays, which are quite fashionable now, in a place under a canopy, you could grow that as a behavior that you want as well. So there are ways to deal with it than just trying to push them out there in the pouring rain. But it is a thing, and it is quite annoying, and it is something that Chihuahuas are known for. I think we made a card about it once, about Chihuahuas not peeing in the rain. So yeah, so take them somewhere different would be my advice, just to take their mind off it and to put them in a slightly different headspace. Now, another question we get asked quite a lot is, why do they go out, have a sniff around? And sometimes this is in the rain or in the snow or just in general. They have a sniff around outside and then they come back in and they poo or wee in the house. Why do they do that? Now, quite often that's down to anxiety. Okay. They've gone outside and they just don't really feel safe. They might have smelt something on the air. There might be some movement that they're not familiar, that they're not happy about, because Chihuahuas are very, very hypervigilant to movement. So a dog is going to poop where they feel safe, because obviously for any animal, doing a poo and a wee, it puts them in quite a vulnerable situation. So if they're going outside and they're coming back in again, one reason for it could be that they just don't feel safe. So again, you need to be out there with them, okay? Not just opening the door and turning them out and hoping they get it. You need to go out there with them. So one, they feel safe, and two, that you are communicating to them that that is where you want them to wee. Because the other reason that they come in and wee is because they haven't really understood that that is what they're meant to do, okay? There's been a breakdown because we've assumed it, that because the door's open, that obviously you go out and wee because the door's open, and we kind of assume that that's the right thing to do. But we need to communicate that to our dog, okay? So again, if this is something your dog does a lot, then they need to be on a lightweight harness and a long line, and you need to be going out there with them and marking and rewarding the elimination when it happens, okay? And there is absolutely 0 point in and rewarding them when they come back in, because that is so far away from them being able to make that pairing. To them, you are then just rewarding them for coming back in. So you're kind of creating a little bit of your own problem. So you have to grow the behavior you want, and you have to mark the behavior you want, okay? So if you want them to come back in, then you reward them for coming back in. If you want to reward them, we want them to pee outside, then you reward them for peeing outside, and you have to be on the button. Now, it's absolutely essential that while all of this is going on, that you are 100% calm, okay? Because like we said, we are moving away from this aggressive, punishment-based system that everybody's kind of used to, rubbing their nose in it or squirting them with water or whatever it is people are told to do. Okay, that's not what we're doing, because we do not want to grow a conflict of emotions for our dogs, and we do not want our dogs to become stressed about weeing and pooing, because if they do, they will start trying to hide it. Okay, and a dog that's hiding poo generally will eat it, and that is a really, really tedious, difficult, unwanted behavior to unpick. Okay, so calmness is everything. If they pee and woo, and if they wee and poo in the house, okay, you just clear it up. It's just nothing. You don't get involved with them. There is no body language there. There's no telling the dog off there. You just clear it up. And it's pretty much down to you for either one, not reading your dog's signals that they need to wee, or not just taking care of their needs. It's, if a dog does something wrong, it is always, always the owner's fault. Okay, never the dog's. Dogs only ever do dog stuff. Okay, and they just do what they can do with the information that they've actually got. So you never tell a dog off. And you never become aggressive, and you never shout at your dog, okay? Because you're just setting yourself up for a load more problems that you really don't want further down the line. Now, what you can do if you see that your dog is about to wee is create, and do this in the basic training before you need it. So you create a little interrupter noise, and not everyone can do this. Some people can roll their tongue, go like that, and some people can't do it. I think kind of the world is split up into people that can do that and people that can't. But find yourself or create a little interrupter noise that's a positive noise. So you pair it. So as part of their basic training, you will create that noise and you will reward it so that the dog knows that noise means to stop what they're doing and kind of focus on you. Okay. So if you just see your dog is just about to cock his leg up something, then you can make your little interrupter noise and then redirect them outside. Okay. What's really important is that you don't use some of these adversive noises like these air horns. I think I've got one on here somewhere. Hang on. Yeah, look. Right, yeah, these horrible air horns. Don't use one of those. Or cans of coins people use on all sorts of horrible things, because all they do is add stress into the situation, which we actually don't want. Okay, we don't want additional stress and worry again around where they're weeing. So create yourself a positive interrupter noise as part of your puppy's basic training. It can be anything. Okay, it can just be a pop, pop noise like that, or you can roll your tongue, or just use whatever works for you. Now, pee pads and litter trays can be quite useful if you live in an apartment or a flat. Now, quite a lot of people use, most dogs, when they come from the breeders, will be familiar with pee pads. Whether they actually associate them with this is where I need to pee is another thing entirely. Generally, it's recommended that you don't train your dog to pee on a pee pad. And the reason for that is if you train your dog to do that, then that's what they're going to do. Now, pee pads are actually quite expensive, and nobody really wants them lying around the house unless you absolutely need them. So grow the behavior you want. If you want your dog to pee outside, then train them to pee outside. Puppy pads are really good because they're nice and absorbent, and they're good for mopping up accidents. They're good for lining pens if you've got a litter. But I generally wouldn't train your dog to wee on them. Okay. You need to kind of manage their environment so that they get the opportunities that they need to pee outside, if that's what you want. Some people, if they live in a flat, will kind of train their dog to pee in a litter tray, and which is kind of, it works for a Chihuahua. They're small enough, and if that works for you, then do that. And you would do it in exactly the same way. You would take your dog to the litter tray on a regular basis, possibly have them on a harness and a long line, wait for them to wee and reward them, etc., and just grow the behavior in that way. Now, there are out now these kind of litter trays that are made of grass. I kind of not thinking not artificial grass, I'm just talking about real grass, and you get them, they come in on a subscription. So that might be worth looking at, because then you might be able to kind of have the best of both worlds. So you've got a grass-based litter tray in the house, but you've also got a dog that will wee on the grass when they're outside. So that could kind of work quite well as well. And I'm kind of thinking if it's got grass, it's going to smell less than a litter tray. So that might be something, if you live in a flat, that might be worth looking. And I'll put some links in. I think there's a couple that came up on my feed. I'll put some links in underneath this video. So basically, your simple steps are this. This is going to kind of be your action plan. So you're going to restrict access around the house, okay? You're not going to let your Chihuahua toddle off and pee anywhere that they want to pee around the house, because obviously this is creating rehearsal and it's quite annoying for you. So we are going to make sure that we know where our Chihuahua is all the time so we can control where they're actually going to wee. You are going to create yourself a schedule of potty breaks. Okay, for a young puppy, you might start with every hour, which is going to be quite intense. If you've got an older dog or a rescue dog that you're trying to rehabilitate, then you could expect them to go for 2 hours. Okay, but you need to be regular. So you need to catch the behavior you want so you can grow the behavior you want. Okay. When they pee, you are going to reward calmly, and you're going to mark it calmly. Okay, so we're not doing any of this woohoo party that so many people advise you to do. So that obviously you need to be going out there with your dog and not just turning them out into the garden and then rewarding them when they come back in, because there is no pairing behind the reward when they come back in and then peeing. It's far too late. if you've got a puppy, you need to be out there with them as well to supervise that they don't eat their poop. Okay. This is quite common for a puppy because when they are in their nest, den with their mother, the mother eats the poop to keep it clean. So, and the puppies quite often copy this behavior. So again, if you think your puppy is going to eat her poop, or their poop, boys do it too, take some food with you and throw it away from the food so that she learns to kind of do a poo and then move away from a poo. Okay. And just again, you're going to kind of have to get the mechanics right where you are rewarding but also moving them away from that poop, and then just clear it up very, very quickly and very calmly without any kind of noise or chat. Calm is king. Okay. We are not making any kind of drama about anything because drama puts stress into the situation, which doesn't help anybody. You are going to learn to read your dog's body language. So kind of work out what your dog does when they want to wee, going around in circles, staring at you, just head down, sniffing, whatever it is your dog does. And if you can kind of get them to learn to go to the door when they need to go out, then that's absolutely super. And if it's raining and your dog's not keen, or snowing and they're not keen to go out, then switch up the environment, take them somewhere else, and kind of just make it's just more interesting, and they're more likely to be more interested in the environment than actually worried about going out there. It seems to work for us anyway. So there are my top tips for potty training and getting your basic potty training in place. Okay. And in the next video, we're going to look at marking and how we deal with marking in the house.